Very cool. All right, let's get this party started, you guys. All right, for those who are uninitiated with THORChain, THORChain is the first decentralized exchange to swap real Bitcoin. You can use every Bitcoin wallet in the world and you don't have to connect it to a website. Same with Ethereum, XRP, BNB, Tron, Doge, and many more. Eventually, you'll be able to swap any token from any wallet to any token. It's going to be a beautiful thing. THORChain is turning into a full layer one where apps can be built on top of it. The new app layer unlocks lending, perps, Bitcoin-backed stablecoin, token launchpad, NFT prediction markets, and much more. THORChain isn't just a decentralized exchange. It's becoming the protocol of pure, uncensored liquidity. It's a beautiful thing. Swapping on THORChain is permissionless. There's no KYC, and anyone in the world can use it. To swap on THORChain, go to THORChain.org and click on swap. New features and functionality will be added to the site over the next few months. If you encounter an issue, there is an email on there that you can contact, and please do that if you encounter any bugs whatsoever. THORChain's token is called Rune, that is spelled R-U-N-E. You don't need to buy or hold Rune to place a swap on THORChain, but the fees deducted from your swap are used to buy Rune, and this is the Rune that is the yield that goes to the liquidity pools and nodes. There are no block rewards on THORChain. 100% of the yield is real. THORChain is deflationary as well, with 5% of the revenue that is swapped to Rune and burned. If you hold Rune on a centralized exchange, you should withdraw it and put it into self-custody because those tokens can be used to short sell Rune and drive the price down on us. We don't want that, right? And once in self-custody, you should look into bonding your Rune to a node to earn some yield and help secure the network, which can help drive the price up. And a great interface to do that is runebond.com. Super simple, you guys. You find a node, request a whitelist, and then you bond your Rune once approved. THORChain has another token called TCY, that's Tango Charlie Yankee. This token is kind of like a preferred stock where 10% of the protocol's revenue goes to these token holders. If you deposit crypto into savers or took out a loan on THORChain, make sure to claim your TCY tokens and you can start collecting this yield, and anybody can buy the TCY token as well on THORChain.org. There's a THORChain community Discord and Telegram you can join to learn all about THORChain and make lots of friends. To find the links, go to @Thor, Thor community, Thor community account on X. Guys, we make these spaces geared towards anyone on your THORChain journey. Whether you're brand new or you are a veteran, there will be something for you today. My name is Denny. I go by Patriot Sounds. I'm on the Rune Bond account. Really love it, guys. I've been an educator for THORChain for about 5 years now, having a great time. I have a little bit of laundry here real quick, and then I'm going to kick it to Kenton. We had a bit of an edge case. I'm sure Chad might talk about this, that Alex and the Maya Protocol team found out. So shout out to them. It was a double spend possible exploit on all UTXO's chains, essentially. And pretty deep in the weeds on this one, but shout out to them. And they also helped push the patch to us, which made our fix of this, the correction of this exploit, faster. And also it makes key signing less likely to fail, from my understanding. Well, that's pretty cool. On Tuesday morning, North American time zone, we had the community basically pause the network because they perceived some sort of arbitrage issue. No emergency whatsoever, but just shout out to the community for always being on guard. And this was in the middle of the night, and a lot of core devs and 9 realms were asleep. And I just want to shout out to all the node operators and all the community members like Sam Yap, Koitsu, Slambammer, and many more who are always on guard no matter what. Really great to see. 3.13 was pushed. I'm sure Chad can give an update on that. Limit swaps had a great increase in usage as well. I think we almost, last I checked, we're up like $20,000, up from $4,000 in total value on there, which is great. Koitsu was recognized by the THORChain main account and absolutely deserved it. He's a wonderful community member and has been doing amazing things for years. And also shout out to Reed and Koitsu for working on compiling a list of wallets that have Rune on it for Kenton. That's very helpful. We love you guys. And the last thing I got, guys, is shout out to Xscanner. It is now has the THORChain front end listed properly. And guys, the front end has been doing very, very well. And that's on word of mouth alone. So shout out to everyone. Great job, guys. Keep promoting the front end. You guys are the original OG marketers, baby. That's how we do it. Okay, guys. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and kick it to Kenton. Go ahead, sir.
Well, great, man. Thanks for that update. I don't have much to add except I'll say the swap interface. The devs keep telling me any day now. Now they're telling me tomorrow. So we'll see. I know that's what they said last week, but they keep testing it and finding bugs and fixing things and creating new bugs and fixing things. But so yeah, so hopefully tomorrow or Saturday we'll see. And yeah, it's a lot different than what you currently see. The user flow will be much better, much more intuitive. I think it will make much more sense. And we basically cut out the whole cold swap external wallet type thing. It'll just ask you, which do you want to, send to an outside wallet or not? Give you the option to paste in your address or use a connected wallet. Or you can use a mix of both. Connect one wallet, send to an outside address. You'll be able to adjust it any which way you want. So yeah, hopefully that'll go live any day now. And marketing, we were talking to Masari about getting THORChain metrics up on that, which we want to do, but it's expensive, guys. Like they told us it could be up to 100 grand. So yeah, we're going to try and talk them down and negotiate it and whatnot. But so we started that process where everyone complaining about THORChain not showing up in tables and searches and all that kind of stuff. And we want to start showing up in those research platforms. And we figure Masari is probably the best one to start with, and then work our way down from there. That's an update from me. I don't know if Chad has anything he wants to bring up.
Well, we are, Chad, maybe because we have the current block issue going on right now. Maybe if you want to speak to that, go ahead, sir. Floor is yours.
Yeah. So we ran into an issue. We just released 3.13, I think it is. And during the upgrade, which is like scheduled to happen today, there was basically a bug where it's very technical. I would struggle to explain it in a way that was non-technical, but basically it tries to update something that it's already updated in 3.12 to try to do a second time. And when it did that, it's just like, man, I don't like that, right? And it kind of blew up. The fix ended up being fairly easy once we kind of got some help because this is dealing with like the inner workings of Cosmos. This is not even with like THORChain code. This is like how Cosmos functions. So it's good to have additional help from people who more deeply understand the inner workings of the SDK itself, like outside of the usage of it. But we got some help to help us kind of figure out what the issue was. Ended up being not that difficult, which was good news. We're working on getting that new release kind of pushed out. So 3.13.1 is coming out in the near future. And the network will be back and running in as soon as 2/3 majority of those nodes update to that new version 3.13.1.
That's perfect. Excellent. Love hearing that stuff. Yeah, I think it was Andrew and someone else too, I think. So shout out to them as well.
Yeah. Jacob, his name. Yeah.
Jacob, that's what it was. Thank you.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Okay, fantastic. Well, guys, you heard it from the man himself. Great, always seeing the efficiency of us fixing problems. It never ceases to amaze me. Okay, Kenton, unless you got something, maybe we can just we got more things coming on 3.1, but I'll kick it to you, Kenton. Do you have anything real quick?
I can maybe just kind of kickstart the conversation. You, Patriot, you mentioned there's $20,000 of limit orders on there right now, and like that. I know you're trying to sound positive, but that sounds like nothing. I was curious if Chad maybe had maybe had some insight on that.
There was some insight. So there was a bug in there which is part of the 3.13 update being fixed, where secured assets weren't getting like triggered basically. It goes to like an indexing bug, which I'm not going to get too much into like the weeds on that, but very small, like 1 or 2 line change to fix it. but we're just kind of ironing out all the kind of edge cases, whatever, edge cases, but all the bugs and so forth. So it's small because most arbs are going to use either trade assets or secured assets to arbitrage the pools, and those are the assets that don't function with the limit orders in the current thing. But as soon as that 313 goes out, it should hopefully work.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be overly optimistic, but from the weeks prior, we only had $2,000 the longest time. Last week had 4,000, and now 20,000, which is still a small amount, but it is exponential growth. In my opinion, is showing that ARBs are starting to adopt it more. We'll see what next week has in store for us.
Yeah, we should see more adoption. Honestly, like we should see arbs moving entirely to this system. To be honest, just because um, it's a way for any if there's more than one arb, and I'm assuming there is. I actually have no idea how many arbs there actually are, but if there's more than one, it's a way that you can beat all the other arbs who are not doing this. And so as soon as one person, one arb does it, then all the other arbs are now losing to that one arb. And so you just lost all of your income as an arbitrage bot. So you kind of have to switch to it. So, but we've had some bugs to work out, things to iron out in a sense. So haven't really seen the adoption that we wanted to see just because the issues we've had with the feature.
Yeah, makes
Got
sense.
it. Yeah, makes sense.
Which,
With
to be
the
honest,
Coke has go ahead.
I was going to say, like I mentioned before a few weeks ago, that like this feature, like limit swap specifically, is one of the most complicated changes that I've ever made on THORChain's history. Just because it's not adding a new feature on the side, it is completely fundamentally rewriting the entire swapping logic, which is complicated. And I was very nervous to do it because if you're going to like rip out some load bearing walls and such, it's a nerve wracking thing just because, if you get it really wrong, it can go really badly. Right. Um, but the feature was important enough to kind of, spend the time to do it. And I think it'll pay dividends into the future once we get things kind of like up and running properly.
Yeah, perfect. I love it.
Nice. With the Coke has his hand up. Should we let him jump in?
Yeah,
Maybe he's got a
I'm so
question.
curious.
Yeah.
Go ahead
Okay.
with the Coke.
Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. So I just have a follow-up question about the small issue that we had with the Cosmos SDK. I'm pretty sure that I've heard the answer before that it's not an issue that we use Cosmos SDK even if they stop developing. But since the Cosmos side of the chain is not doing good, or the Atom or the foundation who is developing the SDK, what is what happens if they stop doing development on the SDK? How THORChain will continue?
I mean, technically, it doesn't have to. Like, if Cosmos SDK just stopped their development entirely, which is not the case, by the way, but if let's just say that was the case, then it just means that our underlying framework that we're kind of sitting on top of is just kind of stationary in its current state. Doesn't mean the chain breaks. Doesn't mean that we can't. It means that like if we wanted something such like say we wanted to increase the throughput of like the number of like blocks per second or blocks per minute or whatever, or wanted to have like higher TPS, higher transactions per second. Like that would require probably more on the Cosmos SDK side than it would be in the THORChain code. And we would, in that scenario, we would probably just like hire somebody. I mean, we actually did hire like Andrew, for example, to help us with the improving the block times, block speed, how fast we produce new blocks. We would just hire into that situation, and because we know people in the space, we've been around for a long time. We were one of the first users of the Cosmos SDK in its history, um, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure that's true. And so we know a lot of people in the space, and if we can always hire people to help achieve certain things. If there's any kind of like really like big root bug within the Cosmos SDK, we can do the same there. But we haven't seen that many problems with the SDK. And to be fair, like this bug we ran into today is like it's like not that big of a deal in the sense that it's not like some massive issue. It would be good that if the Cosmos SDK had some what we call sanity checks to not do something really silly. That would be nice if the SDK had this logic in it already, but it apparently does not. But we as developers of the on top of the SDK, building our own chain, we could have been better about not introducing this our side of the bug of this issue. And I was just talking to Jacob and other people about like what changes we can make into the code base ourselves that would stop this bug from happening again. We talked about building like a bash linter, or we threw around a bunch of different ideas of how to like make a code change to ensure that we don't make this change again. Because like the change that caused this thing to happen was because we didn't remove something we should have removed for version. We added a version 3.12 and we didn't remove it for 3.13. And forgetting to remove something like later on is like an easy thing to do, right? And so by creating a linter, it just forces the code base to find and remove itself almost.
Yeah, yeah. The only reason why I'm asking, maybe I'm just not the smartest, but I was just curious what happens because as I understand the Cosmos, the Atom, they are building the SDK. And as far as I know, they don't have any actually reliable source of income. They just have the block inflation, and
Yep.
that's about it. They try to pivot to the narrative shared security that didn't kind of float as well. A lot of apps are actually dying off. So let's say that they stop working. What's
Yep.
our options after that?
Um, that's a good question. To be honest, I haven't really thought about it. If you want my hot take on it, was that we don't really change the version of the Cosmos SDK that we use very often. We've only done it, I think, like twice in our total history of the chains, our chain's history. So it wouldn't be like an emergency situation by any stretch. I think the problems come in is when there's like an exploit, for example, that's discovered in the cryptography of the Cosmos SDK. Or I'm making up a random example, but that would be where it becomes more problematic in those scenarios. We haven't seen that happen very much in Cosmos history. Cosmos SDK, I mean, it's happened like a couple of times, but it's not something we see very often. If we wanted to say to ourselves that we want to get off of the Cosmos SDK and use something else, or kind of hand roll our own thing, that is an option. But the amount of energy and time and expense and then troubleshooting and maintaining to do something like that would be astronomically high in cost. And we don't even have the right devs to do it, if I'm being honest with you. In this current moment, we're not geared to do something like that. Doesn't mean we can't get geared for it. Doesn't mean we can't hire the right people to help us get to that place if we really wanted to. But it's not something that I'm terribly concerned about in this moment. I'd have to see things go a lot worse than they are now to be that concerned.
Okay, thanks for the answer.
Yeah.
I'll keep listening, so that I'm available today, so I'm happy to be live and poke some questions here and there. Thanks.
Sure.
And shout out to With the Coke, who helps me upload the audio and makes my job easier. I have to do a lot of different things, you guys. So when people step up and just help, I really appreciate you, dude. So thank you so much. You're a big help. Okay, so that was a really cool question. There's a lot of things we touched on early, with Alex and all the stuff like that. Chad, I'm wondering, despite the recent update we did, I think we've covered that now. What's got you most excited about 3.13?
I had to go through the changes made, to be honest with you. I don't think there was like anything that was like a super exciting feature. Mostly just like bug fixes and this kind of thing. But let me bring up the changes made and see if there's anything in there that sticks out for me.
Yeah, I looked at it myself and nothing stuck out for me, but I get insecure and think I'm not smart enough, or I don't have the technical expertise to be like, wow, this is amazing. But if there's nothing in there, then what's got your juices flowing for future updates, if not?
Let me just finish looking through this thing real quick.
Yeah, no worries. You go ahead, look in there.
These mostly seem just like bug fixes
Yeah.
here and there. So I think what's most exciting for me in terms of like the nearest future is, and we've mentioned this before about changing the network to allow nodes to opt in or out of maintaining certain, chains externally. That's one thing to help us kind of scale. I actually just opened, or partially open, I should say, the draft code change to add intents to THORChain's infrastructure, so people can trade long tail assets specifically. You could trade Bitcoin with it too if you really wanted to, but I presume most people are going to be using it for like long tail assets. That's something that's really interesting for me. Um, I'm actually interested in working on a feature where nodes can actually support multiple like chain daemons per per chain. So you can have like one that's like a local chain daemon that you're maintaining, and a second one that's like hosted by Anchor or Blockchair or Liquify or whatever. And so you can have like a failover system. So if you're monitoring a chain and your local chain daemon blows up for some reason, or I don't know, whatever happens, you could fail over automatically to a secondary system just to keep your have high, what we call high availability in the network, in the industry. That's something I'm actually quite interested in. It'll help you reduce the number of slashes that nodes are getting, and per month or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah,
Is
I
that is
like
that
that for
kind of
sure.
like the opposite of opting into a chain? And now you'd be running two instances of a chain to have it
Yeah,
backed up?
in some ways, I mean, it's optional. First of all, like, nodes aren't required to do this. You can do it or not do it, but it just gives operators an opportunity to have a failover system in the event that their chains blow up. Or you could just like theoretically you could do like, I'm going to use Blockchair and Block Daemon as providers for a Bitcoin daemon, for example. And I can, and that's just, instead of running my own local daemon, I'll just like run one or both of those. you know and if one goes down for whatever reason or falls behind on block height by some amount, then it just auto flips to the secondary one, just as a auto failover.
Cool.
I think it's good for, like, especially if you're like a large scale operator, like it might make sense to have the additional daemons, and you want to have as few slash points as possible. And this is like, I think, one thing that'll help reduce slash points to some degree. How much, I don't know. It's hard to know how many slash points are from local daemons going down or not. But it's just a reasonable thing to have more high availability of our chain infrastructure.
Yeah, a lot of them like UTXO daemons, like Bitcoin, those are kind of light, right? So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a big deal to have two of those.
Yeah, but that, like, those are very light, and they're also more stable. The ones that are more problematic, and is in my view, is like Base Chain and Binance Smart Chain. Those are the ones that or Tron, for example. Like, I find those daemons to be much more unstable than Bitcoin Core daemon, or even Doge or whatnot. And that's partially because like the throughput's much higher, and the number of blocks per minute is much higher than Bitcoin, whatever. So there's a lot more you know volume coming through it, so there's much more opportunity for things to go wrong in one direction or the other, or even just to stay synced to the tip. Because sometimes, like we had a situation recently, I don't know how many months ago it was, but where I think it was Binance Smart Chain just like doubled their throughput of like the number of transactions per block or something like this. And all of a sudden, we were having a hard time keeping up to the tip. Ended up just making some like code optimizations to improve that. But that may not always be the case, because sometimes throughput will increase on some chain, and the number of like what we call IOPS, or how fast the disks can be read or written to for that chain, your infrastructure just can't support that many writes, or it requires more memory now, and you don't have enough memory, and like then all of a sudden your daemon starts falling behind because it can't keep up to the tip. At least in this situation, it would fail over to a secondary hosted system that maintains that infrastructure full time by professional engineers, um, which is nice. And then maybe that's worth the additional cost that as an operator you have to pay to maintain your infrastructure. Like, maybe it makes sense for you. Um, it's up to the individual operator to decide like if the additional cost of running having access to a secondary daemon warrants the slashes that you would get less from it. That's up to individuals to choose, but I like having the choice.
Yeah. And again, just having redundancy for the network is a great idea. I'm sure that'll be marketable maybe. I don't know if Nine Realms already kind of does, right? And couldn't you maybe like Nine Realms run more daemons, and could they not make money that way or something? Like with people choosing to use theirs as a redundancy? Maybe that's not smart. Maybe there's a centralization risk there.
Yeah, I mean,
Not sure.
you can run 2 chain daemons right now if you really want to. You could spin up, Bitcoin Core A and Bitcoin Core B, and run and have twice the infrastructure cost that it would cost to do so. And you could do that now if you really want to. I think part of the idea for me is that like the failovers should not be necessarily local. And that failover it's better to have a failover that's completely separate from yourself, because whatever is causing the problem for your first thing might also be cause a problem for your second thing. Do you know what I mean? Like if resource contention is causing a problem for Bitcoin chain, Bitcoin Core A, it's probably also going to be true for Bitcoin Core B, most likely, right? So it's better. It's a better design, or from an architectural perspective, to if you're failover to be failing over to something that's isolated and separate in a different region or different location, or managed differently, or to be isolated as much as you can, just because you reduce the opportunity for the problem that's breaking the primary is not breaking the secondary.
Right. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay. There is one thing you mentioned earlier, Chad, that had people blowing me up on Telegram and other places as well. You mentioned intense. I did see that as well.
Mhm.
Um, People asking me questions like, "Hey, any time frame? What's the status?" So maybe you want to take a stab at that.
Sure. So I just started coding it this week. There's a MR that's a merge request that's open now. It's in draft status, meaning that's not finished or done. But it's something that I am working on. I'll probably have the code done probably by the end of the week next week. That doesn't mean that it's merged. Like it has to go through a code review process, which is lengthy in terms of time. When it gets actually like adopted by the network, um, I don't know. It's like you have holidays coming up, which makes things more difficult to get things done. I definitely Q1. I'd be confident to saying that it'll come out as part of Q1. Um, but I'm not expecting. Just to be clear, like I'm not expecting this feature to be like some massive feature. Like I don't want people to think that like because Near is doing well and they have Intense and we're doing Intense, we're going to do well. I don't think that's a fair kind of analogy to have. To be honest, I don't expect Near to really change the swap volume on THORChain by any significant amount, because even on Near, like 90% or plus percent of the volume comes from stablecoins and Bitcoin and ETH and these kind of primary kind of assets, and a very small amount of their trade volume goes to some long tail asset or long tail chain. So I'm not expecting to be like a big feature in terms of like volume. What I am expecting to be though is a big feature in context of like what is capable to do on the THORChain's protocol. Like I've always actually been against Intense in general. Like I think Intense as a design, it's actually pretty crappy. It's very inefficient. There's basically no liquidity. It's inherently going to be slower. It's inherently going to be more expensive. It's like it has its use cases, um, and I think like where it shines very well is when you are dealing with assets that are like very low volume, and and it's impractical to have liquidity on demand for very low volume assets, right? Like when somebody submits a trade on THORChain, the liquidity to actually do the trade is like already all on the chain. It's like it's there before you even submit the transaction, right? So that we can start doing the trade like almost immediately as soon as we receive your assets. We can execute the trade right then and there in the same very same block. But a intense design requires some that there is no liquidity when you actually submit the actual like intent. Like you're asking for some random asset on some random chain. Like nobody has that asset who's fulfilling these things. Like they don't want to be price exposed to some random asset and some random chains, because that just would be bad for business. So they only will acquire the asset once somebody makes a request for it, and they active like, oh, I have to go out and find this asset somewhere on some exchange, whether it be a SEX or a DEX or whatever it is. That in itself can take 10, 15, 20 minutes, versus on THORChain design having continuous liquidity pools where there's always a trader available at all times to counter your trades, is done immediately, right? And on top of that, it's actually more expensive because now I have to go acquire this asset as an intense, solver or bidder, whatever you want to call it. And I have to go, okay, this is what he wants, this random asset in this random chain. I had to go, okay, I'll look it up on the SEX, look it up on this location. Okay, there's a DEX. Okay, the DEX is over here. I need to get this asset to be able to swap to that thing. Okay, I need to get the SOL token to swap to this DEX to get this meme token. Okay, once I have it, then I can transfer it into the protocol. That takes off some time as well to do confirmation counting on that. And then and I've paid money to buy it on this other DEX on the Solana chain. Maybe I pay 10 bips or 15 bips, whatever the thing is. But I also want to make my own, 10, 15 bips on the trade, right? As the person who's providing the intent, is this solution to the intent. So now I have to push that kind of onto the trader, right? So instead of doing 15 bips, I now have to charge 30 bips to the trader, in a typical intense design, right? So it's for things that are high volume. I really think that intense is a really kind of poor design. For things that are very, very low volume, it makes a lot more logical sense. And I think for Near, their idea above intense is actually not specific to crypto trading. They talk about, being able to buy like a MacBook Pro, via intense, or something like even off chain, and so in their case, for the problem that they're trying to solve and have a more generic kind of market that will out and find the best price for a MacBook Pro or whatever the hell it is. That makes sense maybe in their case and scenario, but for us, we want to create. We're more focused on crypto assets, native assets, not so much wrapped assets, and we want to be able to provide very competitive pricing, very high high speed trade times as fast as we can reasonably get, of course. So we have a different kind of goal in mind than what Near is trying to accomplish, and I think the design that they have works well for some edge cases, but for the vast majority of what we're trying to do in this industry, it's actually not the right design.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Go ahead, Kenton.
No, you finish.
Well, my question on the slip fee. So how would the slip fee would work? So if you have 10 basis point slip fee for an intent, because you're essentially bypassing the pool, right? So if you have 10 basis points, it would essentially each party would just pay the 10 basis points, and that would equal 20, right? Like a double swap, but it's intense. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Like our design, which is not the same as the Nears, and there are some differences between our design and their design. But the protocol has to take its kind of the protocol is providing the blocks, it's providing the security, blah blah blah, for this to facilitate the kind of the middleman that facilitates between these two entities, the person who's swapping, the person who's solving the intent. And so we want to get our cut of the whole situation, right? We don't want to just do this for free, do we? So whenever we do the trade on THORChain, there's usually one of the two assets that's being traded is a pooled asset, and one of the assets is a pooled asset, or maybe not a pooled asset. But one of them has to be, so that we can get our kind of cut. Otherwise, if you just trade some random meme tokens, that have no pool or price, there's no way for us to take our bit, because if we get 10 bips of some random meme token on Solana, then okay, what do we do with it? What does the protocol do with this thing? Just sits there doing nothing, because you can't provide it as system income, because what are you going to do with it? Swap it to what? We don't even have the pool to swap the thing. So we will probably require that one of the two assets is a pooled asset. It could be a stable coin, it could be Bitcoin, it could be Ethereum, whatever. It doesn't really matter, but just any of the assets that we have. And that's usually fine, because it's usually like a SOL token or a gas token per chain. It won't be much of an issue. But we will take out whatever the bips are, 10 bips, 15 bips, 5 bips, whatever we configure as a community to be this value of. And then the intense person, the person who's solving the intent, has to define for themselves of what they want to take. How many bips do they want to get out of this thing that makes it worth their time and effort to go through the process of acquiring the asset. And then on the other side, you still have the other person who's doing the swap. They have to define for themselves of like, how much do I want to pay in fees, right? Before you can't just like, take any price. Of course, you want to limit your price. And so when you submit an intent on THORChain, like you actually submit two prices. One is the high, which is probably like going to be like what the actual market price of the thing is, which almost nobody will take. And then you also provide like the low, like what's the minimum number of Bitcoin that you'll take for this Solana meme token. And then the intents will decide between themselves of if they want to fulfill this order or don't want to fill this order. But there's enough meat on the bone for them to make it worth their time. But that's going to require like a little bit of like price discovery between the people who are doing the swap and the people who are providing the liquidity in the end.
Gotcha. Okay. Kenton, do you have something?
Yeah, I was just so with intents on THORChain, like we still have to have, like for example, if you want to buy a long tail meme coin on Solana, there has to be a Solana pool on THORChain,
Correct.
right? Okay, so then I understand everything you're saying. Well, why instead of focusing on intents, why don't we just focus on DEX aggregation and just be able to route the user to the other DEX
Yeah.
instead of using intents? Like why do one versus the other?
Yeah, and so that's what we've been doing for a long time. Like we've had the mentality that, THORChain will be the kind of like the short tail, and then a local DEX, would be the long tail. And the analogy I've always kind of had in my mind around this is that like THORChain's like the airplane that you fly from like, Boston to London, let's say, right? And then you get to an Uber to get to your actual like destination, to your like hotel or something like this, right? So the hotel or the Uber would be like, Uniswap or something like some local DEX on some EVM chain, and then THORChain would be like the airplane that gets you kind of across countries. You know what I mean? That's always been the mentality we've had for a long time, and I think what's kind of changed is that as the market has become more competitive, 'cause we were like by ourselves for like 3 years or 4 years, whatever the hell the number was. Like there wasn't much out there for competition for a very long time. I think there's more of an interest to be more of a one-stop shop. So if supplying quotes that go through like dexes and all this kind of stuff just adds a lot of complexity and additional cost, and it becomes like very difficult for swap kits and swap kit like kind of services to kind of really kind of figure all that out, because they have to figure out what the actual deck aggregation actually is in the end. Like THORChain doesn't do that for them, and it just adds a lot of complexity and all these kind of things. And so I think we can just like win more quotes if we just natively support more tokens.
So you're saying with intents on THORChain, it'll just be easier for a wallet to integrate THORChain and get access to all the tokens, as opposed
Right.
to integrating a DEX aggregator.
Right, because the DEX aggregation part is like it's on you as a person or the aggregator as an entity to figure out what the DEX aggregation even looks like. And that comes with like its own layers of complexity and like failure scenarios, and the price changes. The swap goes through on THORChain, but then the price changes on the DEX, and you don't get the right execution. Then what happens there? There's a lot of like complexity things that can happen. But if you just support it natively within THORChain, that we can support that random Solana meme token or whatever it is, then it becomes a lot simpler just from a user interface, from an aggregator perspective, to support arbitrary assets.
Okay. So then is it possible somebody wants to trade some random weird token and they submit their intention to buy
Mhm.
it, but nobody's there to make a market? Like nobody's
Sure.
like gonna
Yeah.
go fetch it and sell it to the guy.
Yeah.
So what happens like to that person's trade?
Um, so that's a good question. So if I say I got $100,000 of Bitcoin and I want to buy $110,000 of stable coins, right? Like nobody's gonna do that. who's going to take a $10,000 bath, right? Probably nobody. So this is think of this hypothetical scenario. So the intent stays open for so long that there's what we call a TTL, or an expiry to it. What that is, I don't, right now it's set to be a day. Maybe it's less, maybe it's more. I don't know. That's kind of like minutia we can figure out later. But after it expires and nobody actually takes you up on your kind of your deal or your offer, because it's a really shitty deal that you're offering the market, um, then you either get a refund, or it just gets dropped on the floor, and the tokens are basically lost. So if it's something like we have a pool for, like let's say it's Bitcoin, for example, then we can just do a refund, and give you your Bitcoin back, and it's all fine. If it's some random like meme token, then we don't know what the value of that token is, right? Because we don't have a pool for it. So we don't know if it's worth $1 million or worth like some penny, right? We have no idea. So we can't spend the gas to send you back the asset that you sent us, because like we don't know if it's even worth the $5 in gas that we would have to spend to send it back to you, right? There's just no practical way to know this unless you start leaning on like oracles of some kind, which maybe we do that someday. So if you put the trade in and nobody's taking on the trade, then and it's a non-pooled asset, like a random meme token, then you can do a cancellation transaction where you send in some, in this case, it'd be Solana, with a cancel intent kind of, thing. And as long as the Solana, the SOL tokens you sent in with your cancellation is, the same amount of gas required to send you back your meme tokens, then we'll send you back. But it does require you to take the action of like, hey, I want to cancel this thing. Here's the gas, because I'm paying the $10 in gas, whatever the number is, to receive my tokens back. Because the protocol can't wear the risk of paying the gas for people.
So the order could just, in theory, sit there forever if the person never cancels it.
Well, it would get canceled on its own after like, let's just call it a day or whatever the times, maybe 3 days, whatever it is. And then when we churn, the network would just churn away from it, right? So you have some random meme tokens in one of our vaults, and then a churn happens. And as long as the expiry has expired on this intent, then we just churn and we just leave the tokens behind in an inactive vault, an old vault, like basically just gets lost more or less forever.
That's not good. We're definitely gonna have people doing that.
Well, yeah, like there's no other choice, and I'm sure unless you want the protocol to wear the risk, I mean that's another option, right? We can start spending gas tokens to send back people's random tokens, but that's just like that's an attack vector. That's like the protocol, losing money in a particular block. Like
well, we definitely got to avoid users losing money. What if the user sends in like double or triple the gas, like as a deposit?
Yeah,
and that's what we use to refund them.
Yeah, you could do something like that. That's possible. Generally speaking, when you deposit something, you're depositing a single token, not 2 tokens in a single transaction. And I'm not even sure if some tokens will even allow it. Like ERC20s and ETH are not the same token. They're structurally different. I don't even think you can send both in a single transaction off the top of my head, because how they transfer is very different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not an Ethereum master by any stretch, but maybe there's a way to do it, but I doubt it.
It's like I can pretty much guarantee you this feature will blow up in our faces and no one will want to use it. And so the time that goes into building it'll just be a waste. All it takes is 1 or 2 people to have lose their trade forever. Even if it's only $100, doesn't matter how much it is, just the fact that it happens.
Yeah, the question becomes like, the question comes around like the expiry of it, right? Because like, if you have an expiry of like, let's start with a day, something, like how much is that price going to change? Either the source asset or the target asset going to change within 24 hours? Like if you're putting in like $100,000 of Bitcoin or whatever, and you want $110,000 worth of, stable coins, which is obviously a silly trade to be requesting, but whatever. Like maybe that will actually happen because Bitcoin's price will increase to $110,000 or whatever, 10 minutes from now, right? Or maybe the inverse happens. Bitcoin actually plummets, $10,000 or whatever. Like, like the price change is naturally going to happen with any assets. So like leaving it open for like a week or whatever, I mean, you could do it, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But it's a bit weird. We could do a thing where we put the expiry to much larger. Though we could put it to a week, we could put it to a month, we could put it to 6 months if you really wanted to, right? But the negative of doing that is that like every time we do a churn, we have to spend the gas tokens to churn whatever those assets are from location A to location B. So then it becomes like the protocol is spending resources, maybe not very much, but maybe it accrues over time to be able to do all this, right? Like even with near, like they have the same problem, right? Like somebody sends them some random asset, how do they get it back without taking a loss? I think probably in this moment they're just like taking the loss. They don't care because they're just like burning money anyway, right? They don't really care if they're losing money. They're losing money on every trade, no matter what happens. So they don't really care. But for us, we want to be secure something that's more like economically viable, you know?
Absolutely, but I can't stress this enough. Whatever cost the network of losing on gas will be exceeded in an order of magnitude by the FUD of people losing their trades forever. And so it's either we do find a way to stomach it, eat the cost, or just don't offer it, because it's just not worth it. Like there's no way we can offer a feature where somebody could potentially lose their trade forever. Like that's just a non-starter. We have to be designing this for idiots, right? For people, we got to make this dummy proof, right? The more active a person has to be, or more sophisticated a person has to be to use THORChain, the much fewer people will use it. And so if we want mass distribution, mass adoption, and that's the idea with offering all these tokens through intents to try and go to a wallet, say, hey, we can do all this stuff for you. Like, that's the end game, right? And if this comes with a caveat of, oh yeah, but you could lose all your money in a couple of days on this trade. It's like no one's gonna want that. No wallet will want that.
I don't think anybody's like, if you're trading, like in general, unless you're some sort of like, advanced day trader kind of type, which is probably not the person you're referring to in this moment. But if you're like doing that, you're trading now. You're not trading like, oh, I want to put this order in, like, wait 3 days for it to actually execute. If you're actually trading and you're the kind of you're the person that you're describing as, a feature made for idiots, then like you're not thinking about advanced trading ideas of like, oh, I'm gonna do a stop loss, or whatever, or limit order, blah, blah, blah. That's not necessarily what this is intended for. If you want to do limit orders, then we have something else for you in that context. But this is more for like, we have some long tail asset, you want to trade it right now, you have to provide what you're willing to take, what is the range from A to B, high to low, of how much tokens you want to receive for whatever tokens you're putting up onto this market. And you're not going to sit around for 3 days hoping that somebody's going to take it. Like, if nobody takes this thing within 30 minutes, right, or whatever, like an hour or whatever, then nobody's probably going to take it, unless the market just moves in a direction where it makes it more, it just coincidentally moves in a direction that makes it more appetizing for the solver. But then at that point, the person who's doing the trade gets pissed off too, because like now they could have gotten a better execution. Now they've taken a loss in a sense, and that's also a bad experience. But that's what intents are in general. Like, I don't know how any project, whether it be near or otherwise, that could engineer around this without taking on losses. Otherwise I could just like attack THORChain by sending random tokens to it. I can create some random ERC20 token, whatever. I'll do it on Ethereum because the gas is more expensive there than like Solana. And I'll just create a random token and just spam the fuck out of the network, with random tokens and ridiculous intents that nobody would ever actually, resolve. And then the network just starts like churning or whatever, or refunding me these tokens and spending, whatever amounts of money that it costs to refund all these useless tokens, right?
Yeah, I was actually just gonna say, why don't we just charge like, 1, 2, 3% fee,
But 3% of what
and
though?
yeah, no, I get
What
you.
is this? What is this
Yeah,
random token I just created on
yeah,
Ethereum a minute ago that's worth
yeah,
jack fuck nothing,
yeah,
and we're spending $10 to return it to people? I mean, the one thing we could argument, like, and I'm just talking out loud here with you and the rest of the community
yeah,
here, is that like intense design we have right now, it has a limitation in the sense that like it has the token that you're submitting, or the other direction that you're solving, has to be supported. It has to be on the whitelist. Like we have like whitelisted token list that we just basically just ripped it off of like 1inch mostly, in of tokens that are more or less valid, right? We don't want to see people, think they're buying USDC on the network, but it's actually some fictitious USDC that some malicious person, you know, which you see that sometimes on like on Uniswap, for example, I think. And so UIs are sometimes play like a layer, a shim layer to stop people from trading with like fictitious or malicious USDC tokens or whatever it might be. So you could make an argument that like if it's in the whitelist, then it's worth the gas tokens, to do a refund. You could make another argument that we can use the enshrined oracles to push the price of these random meme tokens that we don't know the price of because it doesn't have a pool. And then once you know the price of it, because these meme tokens are worth, I don't know, $1,000, whatever the number is, then we can figure out what 3% is. We can figure out how much of these meme tokens we can withdraw or withhold to pay for that gas. But then becomes a question of like, okay, we withhold your meme tokens, and then these meme tokens are now worth, I don't know, $20 to pay for the gas. I'm making up random numbers here. Well, then how do we get the $20 out of that meme token? Do we have to use an intent to get the intent? Do you know what I mean? Because we have no way
yeah,
of trading. I mean, unless we start like integrating THORChain into like dexes, other dexes, to, okay, we'll use a Solana dex over here and we'll send the Solana dex over there, the meme tokens, to get us the Solana tokens we want. That's one way you could theoretically do it. I mean, there's ideas we can talk about, but that seems like overly complicated, at least for V1 of this kind of feature. At least in my opinion, that's the case, but others are welcome to disagree with me.
I gotta be honest, man. The more I hear about this, like the less interested I am. I just don't see how this is user friendly at all, and then thereby no one's going to use it. And so, why spend all this time and effort building something no one's going to use?
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with your no one's going to use it kind of sentiment. I understand where you're coming from, but not sure I agree with it.
Okay. Coke, you've had your hand up. Do you want to ask something about intents?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had so many questions along the way. The first 5 minutes was such a banger, but I do see the chat's point of view, and Kenton, I do see your view as well. I think there is a simple solution. Like if let's say there is a user who's trying to make a transaction,
Mhm.
and we are not able to verify is it like a random meme coin or whatever it is. We can just message or like just display a message, say like, hey, we don't have a price for your size, so we don't know how valuable this transaction is for you. And if it's a random token, we will say like, hey, if we don't get a solver for your swap, this transaction will go to waste in, I don't know, 5 days, whatever the next churn will be. I think it makes a lot. I don't agree with Kenton. Like, hey, there's not gonna be users. I think there's going to be a lot of users, and I think we just have to find a way. How can we evaluate the importance or like the size or the money involved in the swap, and just clearly display it to the user and say like, hey, as a thought chain, we cannot evaluate how much this meme coin is this meme coin swap is valued. So sorry, but we will drop it in 2 days. But if it's like worthy of a transaction, we can carry it on and just put it in the next vault as well, if it makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we could do a thing where you can supply the Solana tokens prematurely, right? Meaning that you submit the Solana meme token now, and then in the very next Solana block, you also submit a second transaction that's Solana token, some gas, dust amount, whatever the hell the amount would be. So you're basically then like funding the intent with the gas tokens up front, right? And then when the thing expires or whatever, or you submit a cancellation transaction later on to request like, oh, I don't like this deal anymore. Please cancel it because I want my, Solana tokens back or whatever, or meme tokens back. Then it has the gas already in its kind of banks, so to speak, to be able to refund it to you later.
Yeah, exactly. We can. I think it's just a matter of displaying a message with them, like, hey, what's going to happen with your trade? It's going to be cancelled. You lose your funds. So when the network is going to be attacked, we don't care. It's going to be dropped off with the next churn. And when it's like a valuable transaction, people will include the extra gas or whatever. I don't know. I don't like this like a bad good approach. I think there's a middle ground for sure.
Yeah, and I'm open to changing things, or if people got new ideas or better ideas from Kenton or yourself or whomever, like that's great. I'm open to listening to other approaches, but just give me the space to explain the other side of the argument.
Yeah, the thing that's really interesting, I think, about this conversation is that, I'm just reminded of the fact that our intents have to compete with other intents and it's an unnatural market behavior, right? Because of subsidy, right? So the results, as far as I know, from near, it's not natural, as in it's being subsidized. So they, when they capture quotes and things like that. So it's a really interesting conversation. I'm listening to you guys. It's like, yeah, when does that change? But that reminds me of something really interesting you said, Kenton. I don't want to necessarily break that up right now, but you said something in Discord that is like, man, that's a really good statement. But I'm curious, is there an advantage, or is the same problems persist? Let's say, Chad, that you just said, let's kick this to the app layer. Would that change anything, or do we still run into the same issues?
No, you still run into the same problems. I mean, the app layer does employ oracles a bit more than we do. They're the ones that actually built the entire enshrined oracle thing, was made by the app layer kind of people, so to speak. But even oracles are problematic because, like, where do you fetch the price of this token? Where? Coinbase? Oh, they may have it. Maybe they won't have it. What about this DEX? What about this thing? What about, we're going to go to coinmarketcap.com to fetch pricing now? Like, where do you even get a reliable source? And then it becomes, if you have some non-reliable source that is the actual, source of the price of something, then it becomes even more problematic because you can push in bad data, and that can be dangerous. Maybe not in the intent scenario because there's so little else to be affected other than the intent itself. But in general, if you're pushing bad oracle information into a blockchain, it's generally a very bad thing.
Yeah, because the longer the tail of the asset, the fewer price sources there will be, which makes the oracle more insecure. So
and also more difficult. Like, how many different DEXs do we need to support? How many different websites? How many different sexes? How many different things we have to code for to give every arbitrary asset on every random, place of liquidity? It just would be, a lot of work.
Yeah, that's my point. We should just display a user a message that we don't have a reliable data for this price feed.
Yeah.
And it's up to you. You will make a trade, but it may just drop off in 2 days and you don't get anything back. I think we cannot just cover everything. That's kind of obvious for, I guess, for everybody.
Yeah.
But we actually can cover 95% of the use cases and that's why I think it's really useful tech. So that's why I push back on Kenton's idea that it's not usable.
Yeah.
I think it is usable most of the time, but when it's not, we just have to be upfront, clear, display, and I think it's all good.
I mean, you could do like a hybrid approach where um, for some random tokens that we don't have pools for that are somewhat established, and maybe an example of that would be um I'm not sure I can think of an example off the top of my head here, but like some random token, let's I don't know, some random token we know that it's a valid token. It's not like a scam token, and that it has a community, it has a market cap, it has trade volume. It does exist in some kind of real way to some degree. And then if we can get a source for that information, meaning through the Oracle to get the information for that particular asset, and we can maintain like a second whitelist of tokens, or we can figure out the price of this random token because we already established that this is a token that we can do it for. But a meme token that was just created yesterday, probably not in that scenario, right? But one that's been around for 6 months or whatever. I don't know. You could do something like that hypothetically, but it feels like we're engineering for the edge case now, and it's like a lot of energy and times and even fragility if you're creating a more complex system, which obviously more complex systems have a higher prone to errors, bugs, failures, whatever. So I say, like, let's just start simple and start as simple as we can. That's a reasonable MVP, and we can always improve and iterate in future versions as we want to.
What yeah, with the code, you're talking about disclosing, how it works. Of course, definitely have to do that. But this is the problem with dumb people. They don't read. They just click through. And then like this is why you have, like, when you buy something, the plastic covering says this is not a toy. Don't put it around your head or down your throat. Because like people do that and then they sue the manufacturer. Then they're like, okay, we have to have these labels with all this, like, try to retarded proof the world. And it doesn't matter. There's like people are retarded. And no amount of disclaimers will help people from themselves. And so I'm curious if you guys have actually chatted with any wallets, if they understand how this feature works, would they implement it? And if they're okay with it and they're like, yeah, we don't have a problem with that. That sounds great. That's what we want. Okay, then fine. Maybe I'm being dramatic, but they would be a really good litmus test for us, to give
Yep.
an idea of if this design is something they even want, because that's why we're building this design, is to get into the wallets. So like,
Yeah.
yeah. Have you guys had this conversation with any wallets? Are you
No,
aware? Did they?
we haven't had that
Yeah.
conversation. We're still piecing together our own thoughts in some ways about the fact that you and I are having this conversation. We're asking questions about design is in itself kind of evidence of that. Like, um, I mean, you were saying like we want to build for idiots, but like as soon as you make something for idiots, like the world just generates a larger idiot. And like, it's funny because like this industry in general has always been like ignoring of idiots because like in the earlier Bitcoin days before Bec32 addresses, you could just like type in your Bitcoin address and then oops, I hit W instead of S or whatever. I finger fucked myself and I just lost all my Bitcoin forever. And you could argue then like, oh, that's a really bad UX experience, and no one's going to use this thing because somebody's going to fat finger something, and then they send their Bitcoin off to some random address that doesn't even have a private key that exists in the world, and they lost all their money. Yeah, you could make that argument, and maybe you're even right. I'm not even saying you're wrong about that, but like it's always been an interesting debate in my head when I've never really had a clear answer to it of like, okay, we want to build something where people don't fuck themselves, but like it's also like how far are you willing to go to do that, you know? If there's a cleaner way of doing it, like Beck32 is actually a really clean way of a really good answer to that particular problem in that instance. But how far do we want to go? Do we want to create? Do we want to put our own treasury at risk and pay for these things to happen and hopefully we won't get attacked? or like what else? Or what are we willing to give up in terms of time, resources, money in order to do that? And it's always like a hard line to draw.
I get all that. I'm just suggesting don't do it, period. Just you're talking about saving resources. I'm saying, well, don't waste the developer time on it. Save that, right? You don't want to waste the treasury or the reserve money on paying gas fees. I don't want to waste your time on developing a feature that may not ultimately be used.
Yeah.
So like I view this kind of like rune pool, where it's just like, I think if people really understand it, they're not going to really want to use it. But yeah, I guess I don't know. I admit to I could be wrong, but I just I think about it. This is my job, right? For investing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Looking for projects and like businesses to invest in. It's like, okay, well, what are they what are they selling? What problem are they solving? And if a business is creating a problem for their customer, it's like, oh, that's not great. Like entrepreneurs and businesses solve problems for people. That's how they become successful. And the bigger the problem you solve and the better you are at solving it, the more you profit, the more you make, right? And
Yep.
so when I hear the potential for somebody losing their money forever, that's creating a huge problem for people. And I don't understand how. I disagree. You have all the disclaimers and red buttons in the world. It's not going to stop somebody from actually losing money, and
I
then
know,
the
but that's
fallback from that.
but what you're saying is like the thing that you're concerned about exists in our industry in a flagrant way. Like you can trade on Uniswap for bullshit USDC tokens, which happens, and people lost money that way. Do you know what I mean? Like that, what you're concerned about is perfectly valid, and I totally get where you're coming from. But that also exists in almost every protocol that exists within our entire industry, because you're getting rid of you. People are more sovereign, self-sovereign, and with self-sovereign requires you to like take care of your own shit and not be reliant on somebody else who's maybe smarter and better than you at managing assets or whatever to do it for you. That's kind of the ethos of this industry.
Yeah, that's gotten us to this point. You're right. I agree, and it still happens. But like to get us on the next, on the technology adoption curve, like the S curve, we're still in that bottom 10%. To get to the next 80% of the world's population into crypto, we have to be solving problems and making it easier, right? Like addresses are going to go away somehow, right? Seed phrases are going to go away somehow. All this stuff's going to be abstracted away, and like all those problems you talked about, you're absolutely right. They still exist. So many people have lost so much money doing those things, and it's what keeps a lot of money on the sidelines, because people are terrified of anything crypto. It's like, I'm going to lose my money, and nobody wants to touch it. And so, we got to be, as the industry and as a leader in industry, we got to make things safer and easier for people to use and not worry about
Yeah,
losing their money.
yeah, I
That's
agree.
the market where there's a huge upside.
Yeah.
Um, um, and that's what I
Well,
was saying. If we could just fucking build in the cost, right? Just make it like 5% somehow. Like, are you going to send in all this extra gas tokens, right? Like, totally overcharging for it is way better than the potential of losing their trade.
yeah,
And then that in itself could become a huge, whatever leftover gas isn't used, that's our profit for THORChain.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, it costs the user 5% to do the trade, but we're making a few percent ourselves, right? And it's yeah. Sorry, Chad. I really freak out when I hear about the potential for somebody losing money.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can I
Go ahead.
slide
Yeah, go
in?
ahead.
Just I'm so sorry. So I have a couple of arguments. Kenton, first of all, it's going to be for tokens that it's really hard for us to evaluate how much they're gonna cost. So it's not going to be that we're gonna lose for sure. I think I have a idea or a proposal that we just retire the tokens that we cannot evaluate. If there is a really high trade, of course we're gonna carry on to the next vault. And second is like the memoless as well. There's a huge huge mistake that can happen memoless and in size. And we have to think about, like, if mistake happens, is it going to be a small shrimp that makes a mistake? Of course, we have to all we have to care about all our childs. But yeah, let's say like somebody loses $20, not big deal with the intents. But with memoless, somebody can actually send 100K to the death. It's gone. Boom, done. So I think memoless is a feature that enables a lot of mistakes as well. And why not be critical on that feature?
You're right. You're totally right. I guess in my mind with memoless, why it's a bit safer is you can copy and paste, and you don't have to manually enter anything.
You can even QR
Or
code.
use a QR code. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but with the intents, we only risk of fonts that are really small amount, or the pools that we cannot evaluate. So basically, people who lose the money, I know we have to care about every children that we have. But if somebody loses $5 because he or she didn't read the sign, she doesn't have like this big voice to pull us down, because we had a Thor fight that actually did a lot of damage to us. So I don't know, in my mind at least, like this 20-50 bucks somebody lost, tried to went into the meme coin, that's really kind of niche. I think it's not like a big damage to the brands. We have to like kind of, what's the upside downside kind of thing.
Well, how about this? Like we yeah, no, we don't know the price of the token they're going to trade or its value, but we the network can see what the current gas fees are for that gas token, right? And just ask for 5 times the average gas fee to come in, and then yeah, then we know we should have enough for the return gas. If we don't, all right, fine.
Who's providing that?
The user, the trader.
Yeah, that's
They'll have to
already
send,
that's
yeah.
already the current design.
For intents?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just
Yeah.
get them to send an extra.
Yeah,
Send
that's
an
what I'm
extra to cover.
Yeah. You know,
That's perfect.
I was
we
just
have we have
yeah,
we have
that's
extra gas. We have the warning label, and chat, you bring it on.
I lose you.
Well, I'm here. Maybe with the coke dropped off.
No,
What did
no,
you
yeah, continue,
Go ahead.
chat. I said we have the extra gas. We have the warning label, and I think there is
one thought I have,
nothing.
and I'm just like kind of spitballing here as I'm chatting with you guys and thinking more about this particular aspect of the intense design, is that like this adds a little bit complexity, but it's not too bad. Which is we after an intent is expired, there's basically like, maybe auction's the wrong word, but anybody who provides 5x the gas, so if it's Solana token, it's whatever that is, the token, once you do that to the protocol will send the funds, either send it to the treasury or just keep it within itself. I'm not quite sure if to think about that more deeply, but let's go with the treasury for now. Send it to the treasury. The treasury, has an autonomous process that just goes through dexes to swap to the original gas asset. So swapping the meme token to, Solana token, and then sends, 2 times whatever the person put in, to the auction person, whatever you want to call it, to, get their money back. So you see this expired, intent, you can double your money by putting in, X number of Solana tokens, which is not going to be a lot of money. It's going to be like, $2 or something like this. I don't know what the actual number is going to be, but something small. And then the protocol will give, you spend $1, funding some gas, so we'll give you back $2, and if we can acquire that $2 from these meme tokens, or whatever this token is. So and then maybe the treasury just holds on to it at that point. At least
Exactly. That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect. It resolves the issue. if we have this unknown value of tokens, we have the auction for that token. It's like a Rujira Orca system.
Yeah.
Everybody can bid on that trade. The user gets some of the money back. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I could think more deeply about this, but that's one idea.
This is the point of these spaces, right? We bake things in real time, and I'm really glad.
We generally don't. Usually things are already baked before it even gets to the conversation in these THORSdays. But
I feel so dumb. Like we were discussing what happens with the gas token, and we just add the auction to it, and it resolves all the issues.
yeah,
If this trade has some significant value, auction will resolve it. That's it.
Yeah.
User will get a small haircut, but it's all good. Everybody's happy. Kenton happy, me happy, Chad happy.
I'm going to interject real quick, guys. A quick update on. So I forgot to mention the update to push has already been pushed. It was pushed. Let me see, almost about 50 minutes ago. We stand at 60% pre-votes. So if there's any bond providers in here or any node operators listening, please upgrade if you have not. I know Kenton nodes already has. Please reach out if you are part of a group chat. Maybe some node operators are asleep. Go ahead and ping them to remind them to upgrade so we can get blocks getting back on. But we're already at the 60%. So great job from the community. We're almost there. I mean, that's pretty incredible response time for a global network. Okay, I didn't mean to derail the conversation there, but we do have a speaker, Juggernaut. Do you want to test your mic?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go for it.
Yeah. Hey everyone, long time. Just one thing for Hinton. I appreciate your job. It's really awesome. Just one thing. The bell on THORSwap website, which indicates you the state of the network. For example, BSC is down, etc. I think something like this should be very useful on the main THORChain interface. You see what I mean? Just or just a link to a rune tool from familiar call, for example, or just something to see in only one interface, the state of the network, what you can do at this time. That's it.
You're absolutely right. I agree with you. Just please keep in mind that the interface is like all these things need to be added, and it's the reason we're not getting all the features and things like that you'd expect to see is because the devs have been focusing on finishing. You guys hear echo? Is it just me?
Slight echo. Maybe it's from Chad. I'm not sure.
No, I'm in my headphones. I'll mute myself though.
I think it's gone now. So sorry, it was really distracting. The reason we're not seeing updates like that and things like that you'd expect to see that we should see is because the devs have been working on the back end of the site for DEX segregation, and they've been really focused on that. And so once this new update goes out and the back end is done, we should be able to add features like what you're asking for, Juggernaut. Stuff like that should roll out much quicker. So you're absolutely right. We'll do it, but just again, be patient with us. This at least for the next month or two, and up to the end of the year. In the new year, the site should be looking more kind of what you would expect to see. So, but this is great. Keep bringing those things up, telling us about them. This is good. Thank you. And we do get your guys' emails. We do know about the bugs, and these things will be fixed and whatnot going forward. So yeah, thank you.
I do have a couple questions, one for Chad, one for you, Kenton. And I don't mean to steer away from the intense conversation, but I feel like we pretty much beat that one pretty good. I have a question for you, Chad. This was actually from last week, and it's my fault. I didn't see it So I want to just make sure I honor the person and do it right now. It's for Max Power, and this is about chain ads, and this is just basically your personal opinion. Basically the question is, Solana, Monero, they'll probably bring a lot of volume, most volume before. Maybe Stellar is a side project, but he wants to know, what other chains do you think, Chad, will bring good volume that you would like to see? Chad, you're muted if you're talking.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. There's two parts to this. So the quick kind of answer to your question is, we can look at our competitors like Near, for example, or whomever. Chainflip doesn't have that many chains they support, but it doesn't seem like they add many chains very often. But Near adds a lot of chains fairly often because it's easy for them to do so. And so I would keep an eye on what they're getting that's in volume. Like, for example, like they're getting a lot of, I'm actually looking at the website right now. They've, in the last 24 hours, I think it is, they've got about $15 million in volume for ZEC, for Zcash. And that's bigger than their Ethereum volume. Ethereum volume's at 11 million. So, which is, to be honest, quite shocking, to be honest with you, but it is what it is. And so I would kind of let their swap data be kind of like a informer of us of like what would provide the most volume. But at the same time, there is a diminishing returns to this kind of stuff. So for every chain that we add, we will naturally get less and less volume from each chain ad. Generally speaking, maybe there's some outliers here and there, but some new chain that comes out that's getting a lot of interest or whatnot. So you have to consider, like, you will get a lot of like diminishing returns from every chain that we add. I've always advocated for a very long time that chains that we have support of the community that we're adding, in my opinion, has always been kind of our priority. Even if it's like a smaller chain and they don't have a lot of liquidity and blah blah blah, but just like having the positivity between us and some chain out there. You create a lot more talk, you create a lot more conversation. We can have them join us on, spaces. They can help us provide liquidity to the primary asset or the primary assets to their chain. It just creates a lot of like positive. We can get easy ads into their wallets and whatever their community is, whatever wallet they are using, like we can, partner with their DeFi protocols to integrate with their DeFi protocols. Like, it just creates a much healthier kind of thing. I've always been against the idea of like adding chains based upon the market cap of those chains, because like oftentimes you can add some chain, like we added like Dogecoin, for example, in the very beginning of multi-chain chaosnet years ago, and we never really got that much activity relative to like what there should be, considering like we were the only DEX that supported Doge for such a long time. And we just never got like that real connection with the Doge community to really kind of foster a relationship and whatnot. And so like I always like to prioritize communities that are engaged. And I think the greatest example I have of that is like the Terra. Even though I know it didn't it didn't end so well. But Terra was like the most successful chain launch that we've ever had in this protocol by a mile, because within a month of adding that chain, we had like, I think 100 or $200 million liquidity added to the pools. We had, partners. They were integrating us with their various UIs and wallets and various other things. Like, it was such a positive experience, and we had so many Twitter Spaces where we talked, and people were engaged. And we got a lot of like THORChain fans, and people kind of more deeply understanding the value proposition that we provide for their community, and they become THORChain fans, and they're like, oh, I'm going to buy some Rune tokens, or become an LP or whatever, because I just really like what they're doing for our community. And so like Terra was like such a success in terms of like adding a new chain, and we're just never been able to recreate that, to be honest. Which is really sad, because like I really am shocked by it, like especially for these chains that are very difficult, that are relying on wrapped assets to get in and out of their ecosystem, which to me is like a game of Russian roulette, in an almost literal sense. I'm always shocked how resistant other communities are towards us, considering all the value that we can provide for them, and ask for so little in return. It's not like when you get your token added to Binance or Coinbase, and they ask you for like $500,000, so they add your token to their sex or whatever. We're doing it for like basically pretty close to free. We don't, you can add liquidity in the beginning, but that's like you're maintaining that ownership of that value. And maybe we help ask you some questions about the creation of the Bifrost chain client for you. But like, it's such a little small investment, and to get access to like layer 1 Bitcoin and stable coins in an unwrapped, in a decentralized manner, like, to me that just seems like an obvious fucking win to like almost every protocol out there that doesn't already have
I
access
think
to
we
them.
lost him. Gosh dang it, friggin'
Oh.
X. I agree with what he's saying. Luna
And
was
he's there. I can hear him.
incredible
He's there.
chain ad.
He's there.
Or-
Patriot.
Am I rugged? Can
I'm
someone confirm?
You're rugged,
maybe
Hey,
Jenny.
you're rugged,
You're
Patriot.
rugged, Jenny.
I think it's just Patriot that was rugged. Anyway, so like, when it comes in the current moment, in the current environment, what makes the most sense is it's just to go by more or less nears volume. But if we do have a relationship, or some community from some other project comes to us and says, hey, we're not as big as Solana or whatever, but we have a vibrant community that's really engaged, and be more collaborative in owning it, I'd be interested in that personally. I'd be curious to see that, and I think that would be probably a net positive, and maybe even provide more swap volume than a lot of these other chains that we're talking about. Maybe not Solana or like ZEC or specifically, but like, especially as we get further down the long tail.
I agree. I was really disappointed when THORChain didn't integrate Dash. I thought we should
Dash
have done that. Yeah.
Dash could have been a good option, and I think it's integrated to Maya, so it's kind of there, indirectly now. But I agree with you. I would like to have seen, Dash. I would have liked to have seen other chains that maybe are not as big as Solana, but would be a more vibrant and valuable connection.
Well, speaking of, go ahead, Coach. Do you have a question about that? I was going to change the subject a bit.
No, it's the same subject, but I think it's not just like THORChain hasn't been up to speed. The thing is that Terra, it was Cosmos chain, easy to integrate, but every next chain that got popular after Terra, it was Solana, it was Sui. It kind of required a more like a technical integration,
Correct.
more technical know-how, and I would say it's not as easy as argument. So yeah.
Yes, you're right. Some chains are much harder to like. Chains that are not a fork are basically the ones that are hardest to add. And that's true for like sexes as well. Like, if you want to add an ERC20 token to Coinbase, that's kind of easy to do because it doesn't really require them to add any additional infrastructure. They have some concerns about investment and blah 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 other things, but like, it's not hard from a technical perspective, right? But adding something like Sui, which is not a fork, I believe, or Monero, which is technically is a fork, I think, but starkly different from its fork. It's a much more complicated thing.
100%. I think Terra was just a perfect storm that happened, and sometimes you never can actually replicate it. You can come close, but you cannot replicate. So Solana, Sui, other chains that have different blockchains, we cannot do as fast, do as good. Terra had a lot of users for a reason. So yeah, we should not get stuck there, but of course we should always try to be our best.
Chad, speaking of aligned communities, or engaged ones, I keep thinking that THORChain and Maya should merge and become one. That we're stronger and better together. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'll give you my hot take. Merging Maya and THORChain is an interesting notion, and I'm not closed off to it. I don't know how it would function though, right? Like, does that mean that the Maya protocol is like, shutting off, and there's some sort of like, is this going to be like an acquisition, for example? Like, is THORChain going to use the treasury to acquire Maya as, Warner Brothers acquires some other company? So it's a question of like how that even function. And there's a lot of like, there's the question too about like the functionality of Maya and the functionality of THORChain are not exactly the same. There was a conversation that I had recently with JP and other people at Maya, about kind of syncing the code base between our two projects, because they forked us, a long time ago, and they've made some of their own code changes, and they've sucked in some of our code changes, and maybe we've sucked in some of their code changes. And it's become it's been growing separately for a long time now. And to do the engineering work required to kind of like sync the two code bases back together again, in a matter of speaking, would just be a gargantuan amount of like engineering time to do so. I don't know exactly how much, because I haven't like done a deep dive onto Maya's protocol, code base at all. I've never really looked at their code base, to be honest with you. But so I don't really know how far they've deviated, but I presume it to be probably fairly significant. So to acquire Maya would be a difficult task, not only from a technical perspective, but also from like a financial perspective of like how we even do this if we wanted to do this as a community. It's not obvious to me how that would even be practical. I don't think I've ever seen have you guys ever seen like a protocol acquire another protocol or something like this, or absorb another protocol? I don't think I've ever seen it. Have you?
I haven't. I've also not seen
No,
layer
no,
one
we
Bitcoin
have
swaps done either.
we have we had FET and Singularity and other protocols acquiring each other. I'm so glad, Kenton, that you asked this question, because I have a really strong opinion, especially from Mocha. Mocha is in the crowd as well, from the perspective of Mocha, perspective of people using. I'm sorry.
Hello, do we?
Muted?
Okay, I was
can-
afraid to speak. I thought I rugged again. I didn't want to interrupt.
I can hear
somebody.
you, Denny. I can hear Coke. Are you there, Coke? You were
Where
talking
did
and cut out.
Where did I cut off?
Strong opinion, my protocol. And
Yeah,
the
you brought up Mocha. After we didn't hear anything after
Oh,
Mocha.
I got muted again. Somebody's muting me. Maybe it's a THORChain account. So I'm really glad you brought this discussion up, because you mentioned it, I think, like maybe last week, 2 weeks ago, this topic, and I was so against it. Think about as a THORChain, as a Maya, as a backend Rails for the future of the finance. And sadly, but every now and then, THORChain goes offline for a couple of hours, and I'm so happy that we have Maya backing our quotes, backing our swaps. And imagine having something like a Mocha app that's going to make us swaps using us. And if we go offline for some kind of bug, that's crazy. They cannot they cannot sell. The point of sale application does not work. So I think Maya and THORChain should be separate. Code base separate, the nodes separate, everything is separate. We just bounce off each other to make this decentralized, permissionless real work going on. I think it's really good when we're separate. It's a backup. What if something happens? You don't want to have like a world not selling anything for 5 hours. So that's my 2 cents. It has to be separate.
I went real quick with the Coke. You were not muted. Just confirm on that. You had a mini rug. Your mic was on, but you weren't saying anything. So that happens though. So no worries. But yeah, TC in turn doesn't really mute unless someone's an obvious troll. Or
No, it's fine. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's fine.
No worries, brother.
Okay. Yeah. Of course. That just what I want to say, Kenton. Acquiring each other. That this has been happened with Singularity, the Fetch AI. Yeah, they acquired, but I think for our case to have this robust, decentralized system where we can have the decentralized permissionless swaps, we should stay separate as a hot Mexican sister or the wife, whatever it is.
Exactly.
make the swaps.
Precisely. Maya and THORChain doesn't have the same architecture. You see what I mean? Maya have a boss. Maya have, how do you say that in English? A place, okay? Voilà. THORChain is not the case. THORChain doesn't exist. There is no pas de raison sociale. There is no. You see what I mean? Voilà.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good. The backup
funny.
is a good point. That makes sense.
By the
I
way,
just
the protocol is back producing blocks again.
Let's go.
I think it took about 2.5 hours for the devs to figure out what the problem was, produce the fix, deploy that fix, make a release to the operators. Operators have 2/3 majority, update to that new fix, and then get it online. Like that, 2.5 hours is pretty. That's pretty good. That's pretty darn good.
And that's my point. What, like it's Mocha. We have the bio. What was the last week's Quest Bio Labs? They wanna use us. Maybe we have tens, 20, 100 of other providers built on top of us, and since we have a little bug, they cannot use cross-chain permissionless rails. It's bad. Maybe I'm dumb. So Kenton and Chad, you can maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's good when we have similar type of ethos, like the idea to how to resolve problems, but separate corners still. So I think it's just the perfect way.
I don't think you're dumb. I think that's a really good point. I'm just, yeah, I think that's a valid point. Yeah.
I just love the fact that with the Coke that you called my protocol both our hot Mexican sister and our wife, and technically those are not mutually exclusive. But I thought that was
in
good.
Mexico.
Yeah,
that's what I had in my notes. Sorry about that. My notes are wrong.
Our hot Mexican sister wife. There you go. That's what my protocol is, the THORChain. So we're gonna make some really messed up children, but at least she's hot. Whatever, right?
Yeah, Coke. Kind of what in my mind, I'm thinking. All of us together working together makes us more stable and makes us more secure. That's kind of what I was thinking, where my mind is going with it.
I understand, but the security, when we have now we're gonna have secured assets, the security aspect of this conversation is kind of meme anyway. So I'd rather have redundancy.
No, I meant security, like number of people, number of nodes, number of node operators, like number of developers. We have more people working on the same project, and it just helps grow the decentralization. That's what I meant about more secure. And like in my mind, I'm like, imagine if we had Chad and Alex working on the same problems, working on the same code. Instead of it, and like Chad mentioned, if Maya is that much different now, is it over time is going to keep getting more and more different, and we're drifting further apart from each other. Yeah, I guess the way I was justifying it to myself is just we're stronger as one unit working together on the same problem. Yeah.
I do understand, but at the same time, there is the 80-20 law. So if the both projects is going to be this one unit, the 80% of the issues will be resolved by 20% of the developers. The 80-20 law will still keep ongoing. If we have 2 projects or even the third one, third fork, I think there is more upside.
Real quick, I want to interject. Chad, I just want to double check with you. How are you doing on time? Thank you always for sharing your time. If you got to go, please don't hesitate. I just want to make sure that I ask that.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, if I have to go, I'll let you guys know, but I'm okay for now.
Appreciate it. Okay. To my own opinion on this, I'm kind of side with the Coke. I think we need redundancy, particularly if we have an app layer, right? Because if we merge with Maya protocol, we become one protocol essentially. And I know there's a lot of work being done on the infrastructure part. I don't fully understand it, but there's going to be, holy Christ, I'm drawing a blank right now. What do you call the Cosmos? We're going to be exchanging, well, not exchanging secured assets. We're going to be connected. What the heck? I can't think of the, oh my
Oh,
Lord.
the bridge thing, right? IBC.
Yes. Yeah. IBC. Thank you. IBC. Good God. IBC connection between Maya and THORChain. And so like if THORChain goes down, people can still use the app layer. I think that's pretty important. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, and redundancy, right? And I don't know if we absorb my protocol, we would get that many more node operators. I think a lot of our node operators are on both. I might be wrong about that. I actually have no idea, but that's my suspicion. I do know that some definitely are, but I'm curious your thoughts, Chad.
I will just
Yeah.
before chat. Sorry,
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Just before chat, the reason why I love THORChain and Maya protocol as well is that the reason it can be used as a underlying rails for this permissionless swapping and protocol. And this is the reason why, for example, Mocha or other things are not building on top of the intent. It's not reliable. We as a we are reliable. So I'm more than happy to actually listen to Chad's input on that matter.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like my overall view on the question of like merging with Maya is that like it's the amount of work it would take, engineering and otherwise, marketing and otherwise, would be so gargantuan in size that I doubt it would be worth the ROI that we would get out of it. Especially when the being separate also provides, value. Like I remember in the early days when like JP and I were, working on this stuff, and we made some public statements through, Twitter or interviews or whatnot. And we've always said that we always wanted to have, more other projects doing the same thing as us. Like we were the only one for such a long time. We basically invented cross-chain liquidity, effectively. And we always wanted there to be like 3, 4, 5, 6 different providers than us, because you want redundancy. To the same point people were bringing up earlier, you want, high availability that when one goes down, others can pick up the slack or whatever, because this creates a healthier ecosystem and a healthier market. So I'm actually it took it longer than I thought it was going to take, but I'm quite happy that Maya, I think Maya was the first one too to fork us and create the same kind of,
Yes.
the same service as we did. And it took them such a long time to do it. I don't mean that in a critical way, of course. But yeah, I'm happy that there's like Near out there and Chainflip and Maya and other ones as well. Like, yes, it creates some kind of problems for us in terms of competition, which is perfectly fine. That's capitalism. I don't really have a problem with that at all. It'll push us to become better and provide better and faster services, which it already is doing that, to be honest with you. That should be pretty obvious. So it's a net positive in the end. So I doubt I would agree with the idea of merging with Maya. There's probably just not enough ROI considering how difficult it would be.
I did forget. I did ask a question about the possible the chain ads, and we kind of do. There was one question for Kenton, and then if Kenton, I'd like to talk about something you said actually in Discord this week that I found was really interesting. But I don't remember you saying in the very beginning. Just so real quick, Kenton, someone wants to know, how after DEX aggregation and stuff, when do you foresee? Because you mentioned Masari and stuff. They want to know when marketing blah 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 starts. If you want to just do a quick comment on that.
Yeah, so we're gonna start doing like some light articles to get out on the internet to help with SEO, and start doing some help with your reputation, and then maybe some light paper, spend a little bit of money on some pay-per-click to start going to the swap site, or at least use a Twitter page to do more promotion of the new swap interface. But we really don't want to do spend a lot of money on it until the new year, until the THORChain.org site is redone to incorporate the swap page, and the swap page is done. Like Juggernaut brought up we should have something telling us what networks are down. Like we want to get everything like done, like presentable before we start spending tens of thousands of dollars on driving people to it. Right. So we want to clean up the website, get that done, do a little bit of paid articles. And then in the new year, we can start working more on like spending money like on some real pay-per-click, pay-per-view ad campaigns and on public relations, like going to journalists and getting them the right stories and talk about THORChain. So I would expect that like February, March, when we start making more real like concerted push. So everything we're doing between now and then is to get things done so that we have a finished product to sell, to push to people. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question?
That answers it for me. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. The other my question to you is, well, not really a question. Something you said I thought was interesting in Discord this week. We were talking about was familiar Cal. He was talking about the basis points, the minimum basis points, and we're going to 10, and talking about this common thread of subsidizing swaps on near protocol, blah 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 blah, all that stuff. And you made the points that, well, if they're being subsidized, does it not make sense to increase our min bips fee so we capture more yield? And if more swap volume goes to them, they're subsidizing it, so they lose money faster. So we gain money, more money by increasing the min bips, and they lose more money because of the swap volume. I thought that was a really interesting point, Kenton. I don't know if you want to flesh it out at all, but yeah, that was my one thing.
Yeah, well, if it's true that they're subsidizing it and they're losing money, why don't we force them to lose more money, right? We want our competition to lose money, and we want to make more money. Like October was a great month, and like the volume wasn't really much different than the previous few months, but it was a really good month for liquidity fees. Why not jack our fees up, 20, 30 basis points, whatever, try 50 like Cal said, and force Near to lose more money quicker. Why not? Because everyone keeps talking about how much money Near is making or other protocols or whatever, and if we're making that much more, right, then we can promote that. Look at how much money we're making. Like, no, the volume doesn't matter. It's how much money we make at the end of the day, right? So everyone's just correlating, oh, you have high volumes, that must mean you make a lot of money. And but if you drill into it, you can find out if that's true or not. And I was actually thinking about this because everyone's so focused on Near. And guys, you got to understand, the more you talk about Near on Twitter, the more other people see it, and you feed the Twitter algorithm to show people about Near. Like you're like, any publicity is good publicity. And so the more attention you give it and the more posts you read and the more posts you interact with about Near, the more you are promoting Near. Now, whether you're interactingly positive or negative, doesn't matter. You're interacting. So
Agreed.
if you're that hung up about Near, just stop talking about them. Stop reading anything about them. Don't post anything about them. Just ignore them. And it also is like, it's one of those things where honestly, you have to be happy for people who succeed, right? If you have a mindset where it's like, you want others to fail, you will be a loser too, right? We have to want to see people succeed and do well. And if that's what winners do, right? Winners, they congratulate others for winning, and they see that as like, what, this is an opportunity for me to up my game and do better. I'm a winner too. You know what? I got to step up my game. I want to win, and I want to be celebrated when I win. And so if you think about it like that, think about Near from that perspective. It's great, everyone talking about Near and them getting attention, because it's bringing attention to the cross-chain space, right? To people learning about, hey, this is possible, right? And fine, they might first learn about it through Near, but then as you start digging and learning, they find out, hey, there's THORChain too. Hey, there's Maya as well, right? So like, I think our problem isn't Near. Our problem is that no one in crypto knows you can swap Bitcoin self-custody. Like, 99.9% of the Bitcoin volume is on centralized exchange. That's our problem. We need people to learn and understand that they can get off the centralized exchanges into their self-custody and do what they've always wanted to be able to do, to trade Bitcoin self-custody. And if Near just happens to be the catalyst to like get the message out to the rest of the world, that's great. That's awesome. Because there's more than enough volume for both of us. Our token can 10x, our token can 10x, it's fine. It isn't a winner take all. And meanwhile, Chad keeps doing what he's doing. Devs keep doing what they're doing, making THORChain better, more efficient, cheaper, faster, all these good things. And that's how we win, right? That's how we if we really do want the winner take all and we want the majority of volume to ourselves, it's not going to be through complaining. It's going to be through action and delivering and actually, improving THORChain. And that's what keeps being done. So, I think, we should be saluting Near. This is great. It's bringing attention to our sector that we need. So, yeah, that's my rant over. I'll stop there.
I thought that was well said. And, just like Chad said, we're not afraid of competition. It's great having redundancies like chain flip, Near protocol, all this stuff. No big deal, right? It's ad. And I think that's right. That's the winner's attitude. It shows that we're not insecure and that we have something truly special here. And what we're just going to continue to build, and I'm sure we're going to do well. But I really like your idea, Kenton. I think there is something there. And that's why I really appreciate your mind, because I had not considered that kind of play. But I think it's to do with your experience. You just have a really good business acumen and marketing acumen, and I'm really excited for you to start marketing the front end. I'm really pumped, buddy. I think you're already doing well. I'm not trying to kiss your ass, but I'm really excited.
THORChain will stay the leader. Maybe not the first like Hyperliquid, but it will stay the leader because it is the real, how we say that, battle testing products. You know what I mean?
Know what you mean. And someone, I'm not going to say who, but someone thinks you sound like Tony Montana there, Juggernauts. You got a good accent, buddy.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my bad accent.
No, it's good, man. It's all good.
Just one thing. On the page, on the THORChain main page, this is for Kenton. But
we lost Kenton, by the way, TC intern. Go ahead, Juggernaut.
Oh, well, just one thing. On the page, stay clean like this, but some links to what is THORChain, how it works, etc. You see what I mean? Just that, and the state of the network, of course. That's it.
Yeah, I think he's definitely working on that for sure. He's saying he's got rugged. So yeah, those are good advice. And I know he is. There's going to be a complete redesign. I'm really excited to see what it's going to look like. It's really coming along, guys. So I appreciate everyone being patient, and everyone has been very helpful submitting. People have messaged me on Telegram about making the interface. You ran into this problem, this bug, and I've been forwarding them to the team as well. And you guys have been doing really good. So shout out to the community. Please continue to use the interface, tinker with it, use it, and continue what you're doing, because you're only making it better, faster. Okay, that's awesome. So let me see. Let me kick it over here. Chad, is there anything else that you want to talk about since we have you? Anything that we feel like we missed or anything? We kind of went deep on the weeds when it came to like intents and stuff like that. But is there anything else you want to talk about real quick?
No, we had a good conversation on intents. It was good to have the back and forth, with everybody, me and Kenton and others as well. I know that was actually a really good conversation. But I don't have any new topics to go over. I'm sure we have more things to discuss next week.
I just maybe have a question or something like when I look at the different blockchains, of course I look like what to look at, but which one is the best, and just correct me if I'm wrong. I think THORChain has the best approach. First of all, we do have the protocol loan liquidity. I don't know. Of course, we have some like rented liquidity. Then on top of that, we have intents and stuff. I think how can anybody else challenge us because we kind of like cover all the different avenues of providing liquidity, swapping, and everything.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. So, like, when we were talking about like the best blockchain, whatever, I guess it just depends on how you define the word best, right? Um, we, myself and JP and others, the rest of the devs and whatnot, the community as a whole, of course, as well, have spent, obviously a long period of time, many years now. We were like kind of OG DeFi in a literal way. And we spent a lot of time kind of tweaking and improving, and we've come up with a lot of innovations even from the beginning, like streaming swaps would be a good example of that. So we're always kind of pushing the envelope, and that's what gets me most excited, about working on something like THORChain is always pushing the envelope. But I think we've done enough innovation. We've been leading the way for such a long period of time, where we kind of go a little bit awry sometimes. Is that like the market doesn't always know what the best thing is? You know what I mean? Like it's not always perfect information parity amongst the market as a whole. I recall, like for example, like I remember when we first did streaming swaps, years ago, and we could one of the important innovations of that I think people don't even really realize, but it was actually really important, was that it going to streaming swaps allowed us to be able to arbitrarily set what the fees are going to be, and it would be a static number across whatever the pool depth was. Before that point, you'd pay less fees in a deep pool like Bitcoin, you'd pay more fees in a shallow pool like something else, and that kind of created a barrier to entry, because you couldn't make a $10 million trade, a Bitcoin trade on THORChain, before that point. And so being able to just do that by itself was actually a big deal, because it allowed us to also say that, like, in all honesty, that like THORChain was the cheapest place to buy and sell your Bitcoin, and that was cheaper than every other place on the internet, whether it be a centralized exchange or not. And at the time, we were the only DEX that supported Bitcoin anyway. Um, but even with that, like even being the cheaper place to buy Bitcoin didn't mean we just like ciphered all the liquidity of Binance or Coinbase. And also, we barely even put a dent in them, in a matter of speaking, right? So there's added things to it that's not just about the technical innovations of the streaming swaps example, and how it was able to achieve a much cheaper price than the market was able to do at the time. There's also like complexity around integration with these things. How do I swap with THORChain? There's the marketing side of things, which Kenton has been working on with others as well. So it's a complicated, multifaceted thing that's really kind of hard to do. And THORChain's never been a project that's had huge sums of money sitting off to the side. Not like Near, that's been has had over $500 million in investment from very famous and well-known Silicon Valley, investment firms, and they have buckets of money to like churn through. We've always just been a skeleton crew with a diehard, purist kind of small community of individuals who were optimizing for decentralization and trustlessness rather. And we've just been structured very different than the rest of the market. But even though we've had so little in resources, both money and engineering and engineers, we've still been able to like lead the industry for a very long period of time. And I would argue we still do it today. Like I still think that the CLP that we have, the continuous liquidity pool, that the algos that we use are far more efficient than what Uniswap or Bancor or these kind of original ones use and still use today. It's a much better design, mathematically speaking, and I wish THORChain got more credit for that innovation. But I don't think people really pay attention to that kind of like the nuance of the mathematics behind continuous liquidity pools per se, or even understand the difference between us and other ones. But it's actually quite significant, that we're able to do. So it's kind of like shocking to me in some ways that the industry hasn't given us more credit when credit is due, especially when you consider like the industry as a whole is quick to condemn you when you make a mistake, or got a hack or whatever. Like everybody wants to pile on in that circumstance. But then you do an innovation like streaming swaps, which Uniswap copied a couple of years later. And like nobody even like, it seems like there's not much talk about that particular aspect to it. It's always a little disheartening in some ways. It doesn't get the respect that it deserves. But in the end, we're just going to keep on pushing the envelope where we can, and there's an opportunity to innovate and do things that nobody else either can do or is doing. I'm always going to be interested in that.
I remember the early days, man, where we were just straight up with it. It was said on different forums by different people. It was said by you. It's like, we're going to be trying stuff. We're going to be experimenting here. We got a mission, we got a goal, and we're going to try and get for it. And we have done exactly that. The vast majority of THORChain has been nothing but competency. But the thing with code, right? Well, almost 700,000 lines of code now, in that big heap of code, we've occasionally made mistakes, right? It is what it is. But yeah, I think we've earned the right. We definitely pushed the envelope, as you said, with streaming swaps. And now we get to the point now where our first principles are really solid. What can we build on top of THORChain? And the things that are coming have got me so very excited, Chad. So, we've paid for blood many times over to be where we're at. And I think we are just perfectly positioned.
Yep, I totally agree.
And I love the saying, if you get your independence and you didn't pay with blood, it's not independence.
Yep.
So we did it.
That's a good saying.
Yeah, that's right. And everyone likes to point, at things that go wrong. And that's a hard thing, guys. Like medical industry, especially. Like I was an anesthesiologist, and I was always just neurotic about my details and planning ahead. And how many bad things I prevented from happening. You can use the same logic and apply it to a developer doing code. All the bad things they prevented, all the terrible possible exploits they prevented, but people do not appreciate it because it didn't happen. Therefore, it doesn't exist. It's a problem. It is what it is. But we are still standing, and that is the ultimate test, right? We all are still standing. THORChain is still doing amazing things, and our best days are ahead of us. When it comes to Kenton, I don't know. We're trying to get him back, you guys. I told him to restart his phone. Looks like he's in the audience again. You guys know how it is. Here, I got something here. Okay. If we can't get Kenton back, that's my
I'm
buddy.
back, bitches.
You're back. There he is.
That's my favorite Kenton quote right there. I'm back, bitches.
There you go. I love it. Perfect, dude. That was perfect.
Juggernaut was asking something. I didn't catch it all.
He said you suck and that he's glad you left. I'm kidding.
No. Sorry, I didn't say that. I'm sorry.
We all heard it, Juggernaut. I heard it too. Everybody in the audience, it's in the recording.
Thanks, Juggernaut. I'm gonna hang up now.
Please. I love the interface because it's sober, because it's clean, because it's perfect. But just a few links to show the state of network via Rune 2 from Famiaco, and of course why THORChain and how it works. It means freedom. You must show that thing, show one link which explain what the aim of THORChain. That's it's my opinion. I'm sorry, it's just my opinion. It's not a criticism, Kenton, of course not from me.
You're absolutely. I know it's your opinion. I agree with you. You're absolutely right. And this is what we're doing. This is why we're redoing the website. We got to like clean it all up. We got to rewrite everything. That's what we're doing behind the scenes, and crafting the message. How do we communicate this? So you're absolutely right. I don't disagree with you. It's just it can't happen in one day. You guys just got to give me time. Judge me in February. And like we just hired a web developer to help us redo the site, like the main site, and to also incorporate the swap site, right? So they look the same, right? So it looks like they belong together. And we have an SEO person now. They're going to help us with the copywriting so that each page will rank for certain topics, right? And so we're getting traffic coming to the site for different things, and each page is going to be like its own sales page, right, if you will, and to explain the different aspects of THORChain. So kind of what I've mapped out right now is the homepage will be like you'll go there, and the goal of the homepage when you land there is to get you to swap, right, to get you to click on swap to go place a trade. And then maybe you scroll down, and then it's going to, why is THORChain awesome? Like, freedom, permissionless, no KYC, all that good stuff, right? All the benefits of THORChain. And we'll have a page talking about Rune, talking about TCY. We'll have a page for developers that want to, integrate THORChain into their app or develop on THORChain and build an app like on AppLayer. What was the other thing? No, I'm brain farting. There's three main. Well, those are three main things. So like users, investors, and developers. And we'll link to the docs. We'll link to all the block explorers. We'll probably have like a community page. We'll link to all the different socials where people can follow THORChain. There'll be an email sign up. We're going to start an email newsletter. I want to get the the green profile ring. I want to get that going again, right? Have that on our .org page. We'll have an ecosystem page, like with everyone's integrated us. So it's all going to be done. It's all going to be there, and this will be what we can sell, right? So when we're doing paid ads and we're trying to get journalists to talk about THORChain, they can just go to THORChain.org and everything is there, right? And they can click through and find what they need and learn about THORChain. And so we're trying to centralize all the info. The blogs on Medium, that's going to change. We're moving that to a blog on the .org site, and because for a couple of reasons. One
Precisely.
One's to centralize it, right? There's like if you pay attention on Medium, there's like I think 8 different Medium authors that written about THORChain, and we're going to migrate all of those posts onto the .org blog, so it's all in one place, and then it'll work better for SEO. I guess SEO works better doesn't like Medium as much because it's more of a paid platform, right? So we'll get better ranking for SEO searches, and we can have all those blog posts on the .org blog. They can all link back to the swap page, which helps with SEO and stuff like that. So it just takes time, guys. Like it's kind of like what I've realized. This is like it's like a puzzle. When I grew up, the way we did puzzles was you dump the puzzle out on the table, you spread all the pieces, you turn them all right side up, and then you find the edges and you do the edge, so you have the whole perimeter of the puzzle done, and then you start grouping the colors, and then you start kind of putting it together. And so like that's where we're in the middle of like flipping all the pieces a right side up and getting the edge built. So we haven't even gotten towards putting pieces together to see a picture. So I know it sucks because you can't see what we're doing, but we are like we're getting closer to the point where you can start seeing some of what we're doing. So the main one will be the interface, swap interface. That'll be a huge huge change when that goes live, so you guys will be able to see that. And then we'll probably try doing some more like ads through the Twitter account to try and get people onto the swap interface. Now it's becoming a bit more presentable, because we still need users. We still need people to use it, test it. Even though a lot of bugs should be fixed, with DEX aggregation, there's going to be probably new bugs that come out, right? And you guys all use it differently, which is great. And you find things that we can't find on our own. So that's part of the process, is that we get our community, doing like a soft open with friends and family, having our community use the swap interface, find these bugs, report them, we can get them all fixed out. So that by the time February rolls around and the site is redesigned, redone, the swap interface should be totally dialed in. And then we can really, start spending money on really promoting it and getting it out there, so that when people come for the first time, like, wow, this is cool. This works. There's no issues. It does everything I want it to do, right? If we're going to spend a lot of money on trying to get people to come, first impressions are important. We don't want to be spending money and spending a lot of money on giving somebody a crummy first impression. So, and then also too, if you zoom out a bit, I don't know if you guys are aware, but the crypto kind of in a crappy market right now. I would argue this is full on bear market still. 2024 was just a bull market rally. So like you guys have seen the fear and greed index. It's the lowest it's been since FTX in November 22. This is a crummy time to actually be marketing, because no one's paying attention. So we do have a little bit of time on our sides, right? So like, the best time to be promoting is when prices are going up, right? When things are going up, people start paying attention again. When things are down like this, people they have their heads in the sand. So, what that means is it'll cost more. The cost to get people to come look at us is higher now than it will be when things are moving in the market. So, now isn't necessarily the best time to be spending on promoting anyway. But we are going to start doing it lightly, start playing with it. So hopefully does that answer your question, Juggernaut?
I think you covered it from every angle, brother. Yeah, I think you crushed that question. I need to do a better job of this, guys. Please, oh my gosh, my thing fell. Please, guys, please comment and reshare the space. I'll get you, Jug, just a second. Okay. We got to bring in new blood to listen to this. So please promote these spaces, guys, whether you're listening live or the recording. Very important that we share to get the algorithm on our side. Go ahead, Juggernaut.
No, just one proposal with which no cost 1 cent. Just in the main interface, THORChain DEX, name it as you want. THORChain.com, THORChain.io, THORChain. Fuck them all. Some links, just some links. Some links with goes to THORChain University, to you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. If you see those, can you send them to me, Juggernaut? And so like, yeah, we're trying, if you're curious, so we're sticking with the .org, because the THORChain.org has a really good domain authority. It's really high, which means Google trusts it and views it as like a legitimate site. Been around for a long time. There's like 25,000 backlinks from like non-paid backlinks. And so what this matters, because when we start doing, but our SEO is crap. Our domain is great, but our SEO is crap. And once we start doing better on SEO, that high domain authority should really help. Basically, if what that means is, let's say we have a competitor doing the exact same SEO that we do, but their domain authority is a 40 and our domain authority is a 70. Our SEO will work better than theirs. We'll come out ahead because we have higher authority. And that can be that's hard. You can't buy that.
It's just time kind of thing. So this is why we're using the .org and not the .com. And even though .com is more familiar, whatever, that .com doesn't have near as much domain authority as the .org. So it's something we're working on. We're trying to get everything to redirect back to .org, but we don't want everything .com just to go to the .org homepage. We want the specific .com pages to go to redirect to the specific .org pages. That's being worked on. And then we're trying to get, this is kind of a problem with how things are organized, guys, because like with, you know, THORChain being decentralized, you know, trying to get something done can take 2 weeks because you have to get hold of like 5 different people. So we're still trying to get .org email addresses created because we're finding we're not having people respond to us because we're like using our personal emails, right? So like, hey, you know, we're doing this for THORChain, blah, 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 take us seriously. They're like, who are you? You know, you're nobody. So we feel like if we can start reaching out to people with a THORChain.org email, we'll get better responses. So for example, like CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, like a lot of those links are wrong or going to THORSwap or whatever. And like, we want to fix that stuff. So yeah, if you find links that are going to the wrong place and you think should go somewhere else, please send them to me. You know, just message them to me, DM them to me, somehow get them to me because I can't, like I said, I can't see them all, right? And so if you guys see them, please, you're not bugging me. It's not annoying. Like I need your help. We need your help. Right? The more eyes, the better, right? So yeah, please send those to me.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Decentralized has its problems, you know, getting things done, but decentralized is also powerful for noticing things. So every single person listening to this, you are part of the equation, right? And you've been doing it. So keep doing it, guys. We're coming on about almost 2.5 hours now. Chad, I just real quick have a question for you. Any update on Zcash at all? Maybe you want to say anything like that if you know.
There's no update to Zcash. I'm not actively working on that. I'm working on other things. I know JP was in the process of getting some people to work on the cryptography side of oh, sorry, I'm confusing Monero Zcash. Excuse me, sorry. Yes, I think if memory serves me correct, it's one of the next changes we're going to be adding. I think Solana and Zcash are like the next two, and we have this kind of new kind of like development team that's really focusing primarily on Bifrost and chain clients and this kind of thing. So I don't know when it's going to be added. I would presume maybe before. I don't want to eat my own words. If not before Christmas, after it, maybe in January at the latest. I hope we can see Zcash added.
Yeah, I mean, the holidays are coming up, and there's a lot of holidays, right? So yeah, no one's gonna bust your balls if you're wrong about that. You know what I mean? It's hard. It is what it is.
I mean, I'd rather add Zcash than Solana personally, just because I think there's more volume there. But I don't know. I think the community was more jazzed about Solana, so either's fine. We'll get them both added. Doesn't really matter.
I'm more jazzed about Zcash. I'm on your side on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. This has been a heck of a conversation. Kenton, do you have anything else at all? I'm out of questions from the community. I think we've covered all bases.
No, that was it. I just thought about Near. I was just thinking again, like, imagine you're on a date with a girl and all you do is complain about other guys. Like, she's not going to want to see you again. Right. So like, same thing with Near. If all you're doing is complaining about Near, like, who's going to want to use THORChain? If all the thing THORChain offers is just like crapping on someone else, like that's not attractive. So focus your efforts, guys, on talking about what's awesome about THORChain. Why is THORChain great? What is so awesome about it? And maybe do your little sly, doesn't be passive aggressive, but like, whatever you think is bad about Near, you don't have to outright say it, but just do the opposite. Say what is great about THORChain. Right. And keep talking about that. Just talk about what's awesome about THORChain. And that's the way to approach it.
Perfectly said. But what attracts more flies, honey or the S word, right? And it's honey. So absolutely. And we just gotta be we have so many things coming, guys. There's so much to be positive about, right? And I saw, now that I'm thinking about it, on the marketing side, Kenton, I saw on some Block Explorer or some interface, I can't remember, but there is now money a proportion of funds is going to the marketing fund. Is that correct? I want to make sure what I saw was accurate. So so that's
runes rolling in. Yep.
Beautiful. So that's being banked, guys. So we're gonna have a war chest that's gradually going to grow. So that's, and I don't want to eat my own words, but I'm very confident in Kenton and the team's ability. I'm confident in the community's ability to promote the site. So as we see more success, that's going to be more marketing funds. So we got to start somewhere. Of course, don't expect it to be flying out of the gates or nothing, guys. But all of us have a part to play in this. So we're all on the same team here. So when things get going, let's get on it, guys. I'm super pumped. Are you guys pumped? I am so pumped. I'm so ready.
Well, I'm ready to grab some dinner because I haven't not eaten yet today.
Well, hey, brother, thank you so much for your time, Chad. Yeah, we're gonna wrap the space. Go ahead with the Coke.
Let's fucking go. Work your asses off.
LFG. All right, Kenton. Anything else, brother? And then if not, I think we'll probably wrap it up.
That's great. No, great. Thanks, man. Let's wrap it up.
LFG. Hell yeah.
Gosh dang it. I am loving the energy, guys. Okay, guys, this has been a great conversation. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. This Saturday, we are going to have Leodex as the guest. I'm really excited to talk to them. So, guys, check in for that. We all like Cal. Cal's been a wonderful community member, and they're doing great things over at Leodex. So we'll be excited to talk to them. And then the following weekend, we're going to have Voltisig. That's always a great thing. I love Voltisig. Literally, right? Like, THORChain just keeps inventing technologies that fixes the world, right? Like, seed phrases are a problem. We fix that. THORChain's the fix to, funds being rugged from centralized exchanges. Like, we just are fixing all the problems over here, guys. So definitely check in for those Saturdays. And then, Chad, are you good for next Thursday as well? I don't want to commit you if it's holidays it's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving, isn't it?
Oh, but Thanksgiving, I'm probably going to be with family.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Maybe we won't have one next week. Yeah, what do you think, Kenton?
Totally. I'm not American.
That's right. Yeah, you're not American.
But I'm happy to take it off. You are. So we can take it off.
Well, if you want to do it, if you want to solo it, I might be able to attend. I don't want to commit now. I can't believe I friggin' spaced. I'm a complete idiot. So TBD on that. TBD on next Thursday, guy. We'll figure that out. I personally think we should still do it if we can, because the world doesn't revolve around America. But it is it is what it is. All right, guys. One last call. Please share the space where you're listening live or the recording. Thank you to all the speakers, Chad, Kenton, Juggernaut with the Coke. This has been a wonderful conversation. I hope you guys have the rest of your great week, and we will see you all Saturday. Bye, everybody.